Okay, so today we have Joe on the podcast, eight-time men's physique Olympian, and the first American Korean bodybuilder, if I'm correct.
Not the first Korean American, and it's really funny with that. We're already getting to the side, but what's funny is I stopped using that. Like the first Korean American men's physique pro, or I used to say that when I first turned pro. And one thing that I've realized, especially traveling outside of the States and like
Mm,
going and actually competing in Korea,
mm.
I even recently asked in Korean, like, do you see me as like a Korean person, or do you see me as like like, how do you view me, like, as American? And everyone, typically here, we have Korean American, African American, um, different things, European American, but everyone from the countries view us as just Americans. And so I stopped saying that. I'm just an IFBB men's physique pro from America.
Perfect. I mean,
Yeah.
you were born in Korea, though, right?
Correct, correct. But I moved when I was 1, so
Mm,
technically I'm like a 1.5 generation,
right.
if that counts for anything. But I lived the majority of my life here in America.
Interesting. I
Yeah,
mean, I was actually born in America for 3 months, and then I moved to the UK. But anyways, when it comes to bodybuilding,
yeah,
we spoke a little while ago, and you mentioned like you got into it like almost fairly late, like in your 20s. Like it wasn't like you were starting bodybuilding at like your mid-teens, kind of like it's popular on social media now as people super young starting.
yeah,
Maybe take it back to like you first getting into bodybuilding
yeah.
and like where the passion for the gym even came from.
Yeah, no, I didn't have your I guess your traditional pull into bodybuilding. I in college I played club lacrosse, and then I graduated, used to go out with my friends and started gaining weight. And so eventually it just got to a point where I was like, I gotta start doing something for myself. I need to lose some weight. And
Mm,
then I got a gym membership to a Gold's Gym in Fullerton, California. And I just started going to the gym consistently. The training, I had no idea what I was doing initially, except for the stuff that I learned in, playing sports and growing up, things like that. And then I just worked really hard. Like that was my goal. Like training felt like cardio back then. And so if I knew I was sweating a lot, I felt like I was doing something right. But being Korean, a lot of us have really good calves, and
mm,
the gym I would go very consistently. And so I would see a couple of bodybuilders that I would consistently see. One of the guys' names I still remember, his name is Jesse. It's really funny because so this guy who got me into bodybuilding, who really doesn't even like, he didn't even know until I recently spoke with him. But apparently he lives in Colombia now. We ended up we I have a friend who has a mutual friend of Jesse, and
mm.
so he called Jesse on the phone when I was stopping by his gym, and I randomly spoke with him. But Jesse is one of two guys who I would consistently see at the gym. And it started off with, hey man, those are pretty nice calves. Do you and then they're just complimenting what gym bros do. And then it started getting into the conversation of like, hey, have you thought of competing, XYZ. And then every time I would see them, it's like, hey, did you check out this show? Did you check out that show that we talked about? And
Mm,
eventually I think it just reached a point where I was like, you know what, fine, I'll just do a competition. And so I ended up getting a someone to do my nutrition at the gym.
mm,
And I just kind of trained on my own. And then the guy who was doing my diet helped me with my posing too. And you know how crazy those poses look back in the day. I don't know if you recall, but if you look back at like the 2013, 14, 15 Mr. Olympia, our posing was way different. And so the guy helped me with my posing. And yeah, I did my first show in June of 2015. And so
mm.
that the West Coast Classic out in East LA, and I ended up winning my class. And so really just enjoyed the structure behind it, the hard work, the discipline, and kind of the reward, that you get from your hard work, and you kind of see it and it comes into fruition. Yeah, I just got kind of hooked. And once I got done competing at that show, there was a guy named Tonnell. He was a part of Team Zero Gravity at that time, and this was before anyone really knew about Team Zero Gravity as far as at the scale that it is right now. But yeah, I saw him at the show. We both competed in men's physique. I believe he won class C, and he was just telling me like, "Hey, do you have like a serious coach? Have you, and he just kind of invited me to come out to Team Zero Gravity. Ryan Benson, my coach, had a gym out there. And so just met him. I was scared of my coach the first time I met him. He looked like a scary dude. But like the
Um,
more I got to know him, he's actually, I call him like a brother now. And so yeah, I joined Team Zero Gravity, and then everything just kind of steamrolled from there because I had people around me that had bigger visions for me than myself as far as the sport goes, and
mm,
so it all just kind of snowballed.
yeah. So zero
Yeah,
gravity, just to be clear for people that don't know, that's your like coaching, like the team that you're part of. You know,
correct,
um,
correct.
and so how many? And you're still with them to this day. So how many years has that been now?
Now it's we're climbing over
You said
10.
10
So
years.
I did my first show in 2015, and like you said, I started late. So I started
Mm,
when I was 27. So I'm 38
mm,
now. I just had my 38th birthday, which is absolutely crazy to say because I don't feel like I'm 38. And but I've been doing it for 10 years now, just a little over 10 years now. And I've been with Ryan for little north of 10 years or just about 10 years because I started with him October of 2015 was when he
mm.
became a coach. Or that's at least when I did my very first show with him, I think. So I started with him in 2015. I probably joined like July, August or something like that. And so that's where I've kind of been since.
10.5 years. So
Yeah.
one thing before we get into the competitive career, because I'm interested in this, being a former athlete, right? Doing lacrosse at a college level. I'm assuming that's D1, right? Like at college level?
No, it was a club lacrosse.
Oh, club.
So
Yeah,
I played a little football in high school and ran track
yeah.
in high school, but track was for football. And
Mm,
then the club lacrosse, it was a very competitive landscape, but it's still club lacrosse, but they treat it like a actual school program, and so you
yeah.
still travel. I mean, the league was like MCLA, but at the end of the day, I contribute a lot of my like earlier successes in terms of mindset and what I needed to do to lacrosse because I remember waking up during Hell Week and we'd be at campus when no one else is at campus. We'd wake up at 5 a.m., do crazy runs, do more conditioning afterwards on the turf field. We do lifting and all that stuff. And all that, kind of helped set the stage and built me up to, be dedicated and be able to do what I did and so far in bodybuilding.
Yeah, 100%. And so you're
Yeah.
saying after you're done with college and club lacrosse, you had then this 5-year gap, I'm assuming, like you graduated at 22. And is that where like, okay, you were, go gaining momentum in your career, but then like you kind of neglected the gym, your health, or like you didn't have this outlet, competitive kind of physical outlet, and you almost like let yourself go a bit, from my understanding, and then like getting into the gym was your way to kind of, get back in shape, and then like, from what it sounds like, someone saw potential in you, they almost saw more in you than you saw in yourself, and then it snowballed from there. But like basically you almost maybe lost a bit of purpose, you lost a bit of direction, and you came back to the gym to try and get some direction, get back in shape, and then it kind of took off from there. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's not that I ever lost purpose or direction, because fitness was never like my thing. And back then, and again, I graduated in like 2010, so everyone just wanted to be like slimmer, and no one was
Mm,
thinking about building and getting jacked. It's not as mainstream as it is now. So
yeah.
people were like, I just want to lose weight, I just want to be fit, look ripped, and more of that aesthetics look with um I'm blanking on his name. Like basically what shreds used to be the
Mhm,
popular thing, where you
mhm,
just had that shredded look. But yeah, so I never lost purpose. It was just more so I did have a gap in between there. So once I graduated, I started my professional life, started at a leasing and financing corporation doing like cold calls and sales from a cubicle for 8 hours a day. Absolutely hated it. And not to say like looking back now, it might be something I would be able to do even better and just be able to, accomplish a lot in. But, coming straight out of college, not really knowing what you want to do in life, and you find yourself just making cold calls all day and getting hung up on and not really finding success because you don't know what you're doing.
mm,
And I don't think, I definitely did not get the kind of coaching that, that probably would have set me up for success, but also at the same time, I didn't have the mindset of, at that time, I didn't have the mindset of that was ready for any kind of success because I wasn't, as hungry. I wasn't as like, oh, I need to do XYZ to get good at what I'm trying to do and, get really good at my craft and do those things. And so that was my first job out of college. I think I was there for like 6 months. And
Mm,
then I ended up going to chiropractic school for a little while. And but before doing that, I had to take an accelerated science course because I was a business management major. So obviously, I didn't take any science courses in college, and I finished like an accelerated science program, got all my science degrees. Not degrees, but my credits. And then I
mm,
went to chiropractic school for 2 terms, found out it was not for me. And it was just, it's not that I have no interest in it. And I initially got into it just thinking like, oh, the biomechanics of the body is something that interests me. Just having played sports and kind of working out here and there, like it might be something that I can get into. And so I did that. Just didn't just found out a lot of my classmates were a lot more passionate about it than I was, and I
mm,
felt like I needed to be at a certain level because if you're a chiropractor, you come out of college, it's not like you're a regular doctor and you just get a residency and you get a job at a hospital. You kind of have to make your own way, and I don't
mm,
think I had that passion behind the skill and the trade itself to kind of go out and do my own thing like that. And
mm.
so yeah, I just started back up in the world of sales, and I got more of a territory account management type role, but it's still a lot of sales involved. And then it was for a company called Armstrong World Industries. They used to be the largest flooring manufacturer here in the U.S. And so yeah, I worked there for about 3.5 years. Then got more of a got another role at Pepperidge Farm. So I told people I used to sell goldfish and cookies, just to simplify what I did.
Yeah.
But then they were purchased by Campbell Snacks, so I ended up working for Campbell Snacks for a while. So I was there for about like 3.5 years. Then I went to Zillow afterwards. After moving, I used to live in LA County. Then I moved to Orange County in California. So I got a job at Zillow as a business consultant, and then moved to Texas. I worked for a another fintech, not another fintech company, but for a fintech company. And then that was probably my shortest as far as like longevity as a company goes. But I was there for like a year and a half, and then I found this role that I'm currently at with ADP as as a district manager. And so I've been in sales all my life after ever since chiropractic school, and that's what I've been doing, and bodybuilding together since. It's all kind of intertwined together.
Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting because I think a misconception that I had, and maybe other people outside looking in who maybe don't, they're not super deep into bodybuilding. You'll see someone like yourself, 8-time Olympian, and dark sport, sponsorship. And the thing about bodybuilding is it's not like the NFL or basketball where the majority of people are just doing bodybuilding and nothing else, even though you're at the complete pinnacle of the game. And you have a whole, career and progression outside of that, which is like synergizing with the bodybuilding. And I think it's super
Yeah.
interesting because you actually had that as like a base before the bodybuilding, right? You didn't do
No.
bodybuilding and then combine it with the career. You had career and then bodybuilding. And one question I wanted to even ask, again, just kind of just a tiny bit more to just get an understand the origin. You said like, oh, like fitness wasn't my thing, like bodybuilding wasn't my thing. Like, what was your thing? And like, when did the mindset shift? Because again, someone be thinking, 8-time, Olympian, like he must have had like this crazy mindset from day one, being obsessed with the gym since like a super early age. But that wasn't the case. It sounds like, as a matter of fact, you got into the gym, you didn't, other people saw more in you than you saw in yourself. And it seems to have like snowballed, and it seems to have been more like a one foot in front of the other, like progression, as opposed to like, oh, from day one, I knew I was going to be an Olympian. I knew I was going to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, exactly. And yeah, that's some people's progression. They see the sport as a fan and they're like, one day I'm going to be there. And then they work hard towards that. For me, it was more so I didn't even know what the Olympia was. Even as I was doing my first show, I had no idea what I mean, I knew what the Olympia was, but in context of for like what does it look like for men's physique? I had no idea
Mm,
what that. And so for me, I guess everything that led up to it, there was no breaking point or anything like that. It was always just a slow progression for me. So like I
mm,
said, I just noticed I was gaining extra weight. So I was like, I need to go work out. And
Yeah.
so I just invested myself into it because also at the same time too, the gym, no matter, if you're starting fresh, you are a little intimidated because there are bigger guys in there. There are people who look more experienced than you. So at the same time too, I just didn't want to be someone who didn't look like they didn't know what they were doing in there. And so still just went on YouTube, found, different things online to learn different workouts, just applied it and then just went consistently. At least that much I always dedicated because the gym was immediately, it started becoming like an outlet for me.
Mm,
I created kind of like a community there, the people I would see all the time, so they're, like whenever you go into the gym, you say what's up to your friends. You talk to them and then also you're all kind of just working hard. And I think that goes back to the whole sports thing too. Whenever you find a community and you can kind of work hard together towards something, that's challenging, it kind of makes it a lot more fun. You're in it together. And so yeah, that was generally the progression. And then again, did my whole competition thing. And that's when I still had my own, career and everything going on. And so actually, it all kind of coincided together. Like both my job and my bodybuilding kind of started at the same time after chiropractic school.
mm,
So I remember I got into the gym during chiropractic school, like towards the end of it. And then yeah, after that I just had a little bit more time and because I'm not studying all the time. And so just started going to the gym a lot more consistently and more of a daily routine. And yeah, that's how it all progressed together. And I started working at the same time too, and so
yeah.
got my professional career going. And yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like the gym and you building up a community. I mean, I'm in Houston. For people that don't know, we train at the same gym, and like you're such a positive guy when I see you, and like definitely I can see how you could have a big community of people back in California. It sounded like it almost fulfilled like that deep human need of like needing a community, needing like a mission, like building towards something, and like that environment, being conducive to that. Like, you know, you showed up consistently, you progressed. And then my next question would be like, at what point did you realize, I'm really good at this? Because with bodybuilding, it's one of those things where like you kind of have it or you don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so obviously you won your class in your first show, but you didn't even know what the Olympia was at that point. Like, how far into the journey did you think, or did someone tell you, or maybe the coach from Zero Gravity was like, hey, like you really have something here, like you could be at the top. Like, at what point did you realize, oh, I got something here?
I mean, the first time I got any inkling that I got something was probably when I got my pro card.
Mm,
Luckily, again, the competitive landscape has changed since I got my pro card compared to what it is now today. I did my first show, like I said, in June of 2015, and then I got my pro card in July of 2016. So I was very fortunate. I got it just a little over a year.
yeah.
I ended up going to Team U in in New York or New Jersey, and even going to the national show, because before that I never won my class again. I was always like the second, third, fifth, place guy, but second qualifies you for nationals, and so
Yeah.
I took
Yeah.
that. Uh, and it wasn't even late into that year. I had no idea how to do a lat spread. So I remember practicing at the gym, just kind of hanging my body forward and leaning back, trying to open up my lats, get that mind muscle connection. And so that felt like that took forever. But again, it was at Team U, but even before that, getting there, I had no aspirations to go get my pro card. It was my coach who was just like, "Hey, we have a few guys going out to, Team Universe on the East Coast. Like, you should go." And I was like, "Me? Like, why would I go?" And but I was like, this would be kind of cool, to kind of see where you stand next to the national on the national level. And I had a good group of people going from my team, and I got along with everyone, and so it was like, okay, why not? And so with my coaches, kind of like that slight push and recommendation, ended up going there, won Class B, I think, in 2016. And then I think I was just a couple points away or a point away from the overall, but won Class B and then got my pro card from there. And I was like, holy crap, like I I'm kind of good at this. At
Yeah.
least to a certain extent, I'm kind of good at this. And then, from then on, uh, my coach is very like, all right, you taste success, like let's push forward. Let's not take our foot off the gas. And so it was right into the mindset of going to the Olympia. And I was like, okay. And probably at that time too, I was like, well, maybe, but okay, like let me see if I can go. And so, but ever since then, with good people around me, kind of having that vision for me early on, and kind of, having belief in me and faith in me that I can do bigger things. Um, Ever since then, I've gone to every single, Olympia that I've at least tried to go for, except for 2 seasons that I basically took off.
Mm.
Yeah.
And was that the COVID ones, if I'm not?
Yeah, the COVID one and the one when I moved to Texas, and technically one in like 2024, but I started the season super late, and it was just kind of like rushing into it a little bit. And so it was just at the very tail end of the season I did a couple shows, and just tried. So I guess 3, 3 out of 11 I missed.
Okay, and then wow, again, I didn't even know. Like, obviously, it makes sense now with you starting in 2015, and then being here with 8 Mr. Olympia appearances. At what point were you like, okay, well, you kind of just saying like, okay, let's see if I can go to Olympia. Like again, I feel like so many people nowadays are like, I want to go to Olympia, and they've only been in the gym for like 6 months. It seems like it's funny because it's almost like it was the opposite for you in the sense that you were kind of just taking it one step at a time, and you never had like this grand like end vision. Maybe it like became that way over time, but it wasn't that way from day one. So then, you know, is that very much your mindset in general, or has that changed as time goes on? Are you very much like, let me always just take one step at a time, and I'm not setting these super far out goals, or it really is just like, it's almost like a snowball rolling, it gets bigger and bigger, but it's not like you need to be at the end, in your mind before you start.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, it's different now, especially with the success that I've had and knowing what I'm capable of doing. It's a little bit different. I always plan on going in and being competitive, and the goal is to win, and you have to have that mindset. Like you're not going in there just thinking, all right, I'm gonna get second place, and
Mm.
I'm gonna work so hard to get second place. No, you can't have that mindset. You have to have the mindset to win. But earlier on, I mean, I was still so new to the industry too, and you just kind of had to respect it. Also, at the same time, you can't go in there and just say, "Oh, I'm gonna go win." One day, I'm gonna stand next. Like, I think it's cool when people say that, and it gives them that vision. But at least for me, I never said one day I'm gonna stand next to you. Like it's gonna happen for a fact. Like, one day I want to stand next to you, sure, but one day I'm gonna stand next to you. Like, I never went up to any of the pros or anything like that and said that, just because it took a lot of hard work to get there. And so my goal was to just kind of like take it in strides and work really hard. And also, I think through the progression of being in the sport of bodybuilding, it's it built a lot of my confidence up. And just by training and just by being in, doing what I'm doing, I think it's given me more confidence to be a little bit more goal oriented and thinking like, oh, I can achieve this. But also, it comes from the professional side of things too. Just being in sales, as you'll as you start your professional journey in the corporate world, you'll learn, like, you're gonna get better at your craft. You're gonna be better at talking. You're gonna be better at asking questions and understanding people and kind of empathizing, and just more critical thinking around certain things. And so I think just the intertwining of that, and then, just progressing, I think I ended up where I'm at today. But earlier on, it was just, everything was just taken in strides, have respect for what's there, and, like, see what you can do and give it your best.
Yeah, it sounds like the confidence for the most part came from the proof that like accumulated over time. It's like almost sounds like the more proof you had, like the more results you got, like the higher the confidence became, which is interesting because
Exactly.
yeah, like having that undeniable proof. Now, obviously, you're justified in having that confidence. Like for sure, no one can take that away from you. What were the main lessons being in the game for 10 years now that maybe you wish you could tell your younger self, or like maybe even just big mistakes you made along the way? Because sometimes, again, when you're starting something, as you're saying, like you're new in the industry, you need to get your feet wet. Like you don't know what you don't know. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But then sometimes like, these things can set us back massively. Like, is there anything in particular like, man, I wish I knew that before, or like, man, if I go start again, like I wouldn't make these mistakes because I would have accelerated my progress?
Yeah, I mean, as far as progress goes, I don't do it as much anymore where I will just try to inhale every single thing that I can try to right after a show. I
Yeah.
remember, earlier on for about like way more than half my career, even when I turned pro, just because it became such a bad habit with food. But I remember I would always like buy a crud ton of stuff and just have it ready for me once I'm done with the show. And
Mm,
I would eat. And I remember I even drove back from Vegas because I used to live in Southern California after an Olympia. I ate this whole thing of Nutter Butters, and I remember I was so bloated because we ended up going straight to the gym.
mhm.
And then I checked myself in the mirror. I was like, oh, this looks terrible. I look so bloated.
Oh
But
my god.
eventually, I reached a point to where I was like, I don't really gain anything from doing
Mhm.
that. The food is going to be there anyways. And so I shifted my mindset on that. Of course, I still enjoy myself after shows, but the main two things that I always get after shows now is a Coke Zero or a Diet Coke, and a house salad or a salad with like ranch because
Mm.
the texture of it and the carbonation from the soda is just super refreshing. And so
Yeah.
I always get that after a show now. But as far as like one thing that I would say that I would really change and at least give myself advice on when I was early on in competing is to take it serious, but not take it so serious.
Mm.
Because as you know, when you start competing in bodybuilding, you hear so many stories about people's relationships ending. You hear so many stories about, losing. And it's not just like, your significant other, but people lose friendships because they change up their lifestyle. And, they almost take bodybuilding so serious. They cut out a lot of things in their lives and they end up neglecting people in their lives. And so one thing I always tell people is to like, hey, if you get invited out to go eat, like go. Like that doesn't mean you have to actually order from the menu. Order maybe like a Coke Zero, and then take your meal prep with you. And at least you're enjoying time and spending time with the people who invited you. And at the end of the day, if they're bothered by you doing that, then that's their problem. You came out to spend time with them and enjoy their presence and spend time. But the least you can do is try to go. Like if it doesn't interfere with what you're seriously trying, possibly if there's a legitimate reason why you can't, like just go hang out with your friends, enjoy their time, enjoy your time, and do that. So just kind of like take it serious, but don't take it so serious. And also like, as you're going through preps, you're gonna have ups and downs, but be kind to the people around you. At the end of the day, you decided to do this prep. So you can't be
Yeah.
mad at how you feel while you're on prep and take it out on other people. And so a lot of that I developed over time too, just, kind of being a little bit more self-aware and kind of understanding. And so I think for that I've definitely got a pretty good grasp on.
Mm. Do
Yeah.
you think, which out of those 2 do you think you struggled with more throughout your career?
I'm sorry.
Which out of those 2 do you think you struggled with more throughout your career? Like the friends aspect, maybe neglecting people and relationships to like fully being almost over consumer bodybuilding, or the latter?
Are you talking about like the food or or the friends thing? Like, are you
Like,
comparing the 2?
no, like both scenarios. Like which like you're saying those are the kind of 2 pieces of advice you give to like younger self, or like someone starting out. Is that because you've seen that just with like tons of other people, or is it you like personally struggled with both of them? And if so, if it was you struggled with them, like which one was a bigger battle to kind of overcome?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would say the food thing is bad for your body and definitely don't do that. That's just eventually I became self-aware and I was like, what am I doing? And, not knocking that off. And it's not like I was at the same time too, I was always just generally like a happy-go-lucky guy. And so I'm not gonna burst out at people next to me just because. So I wasn't, to that extent, but I can feel myself getting irritated sometimes.
Yeah.
And we all go through the same when you're in a caloric deficit and you're putting your body through the things that you're going through. You're gonna get irritated, but it's having the self-aware that, hey, I'm irritated because of this, and not that. And so I think that part was probably the most important part. of, learning and developing, but I think it was just a progression over time and, catching myself in instances and, really seeing other people's, hearing out from people who are a little bit more experienced from me that are, in the industry doing the same thing that I'm doing. And because, it's just, even though it's not like a main topic a lot of people talk about, sometimes you end up in those conversations where you do talk with people. And so, yeah, I mean, I would say that's the most important thing. And it wasn't like there wasn't a exactly aha moment, but eventually there was a time when I was just like, and it didn't take like 5 years or anything like that, but eventually there was a point where I was like, oh shoot, like, this is a very important thing and something that, I should apply to my life. And so, and make sure I apply to my life, because I was doing parts of it. Sometimes, you'd slip and catch yourself being irritated and not just being the happiest guy. And again, I'm not like an angry guy, so I'm not going to like burst out yelling at anyone or
Yeah,
just be a
yeah, yeah.
complete jerk. But, you can be a little bit more short and not as courteous. And so, yeah, just things like that. But it
Yeah,
progressed over time. Yeah.
yeah, like further away from your baseline, you know what I'm saying? Like even though it's not necessarily something you struggle with, it's just like from where you normally are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, I've only done one prep so far, and you've met Aaliyah. Aaliyah's only done one prep. But yeah, being hangry, it's an interesting one because it's like the people around you, they obviously want the best for you. But being in a prep, they're the ones who take the collateral damage because there's no one else, they're the ones who are going to deal with you being short, you being frustrated, you being hungry, you being in a bad mood. And
Hmm.
yes, it's challenging because then sometimes the people that you love the most get hurt the most because of something you've chosen to do. But on another note, like with the men's physique progress you've had, one thing that stands out, I think, about your physique, I even saw a video where you said you were marked down at one point for having too big of a chest. You know what I'm saying? So it seems like your chest, shoulders, and arms, like from the front, like you've had like an extremely dominant physique. Is, what is some things you've learned over time that you think have caused you to have the most progress? Is like a certain training style, like or like little tips and tricks you've learned that has allowed you to have this like, incredible progress in that regard?
Yeah, it's just like honestly, it's just hard work and consistency. That's all it is. And you don't have to always change up exactly what you're doing. Of course, for the sake of progress, if I mean if it's gonna be intentional and it leads to progress and you think that's what it's gonna do, change it up. But I mean, for me, it's just work really hard when you're doing it and then be consistent at it. And so I think that's what did it for me. There wasn't anything in particular. And of course, you just have certain muscle groups that outgrow other groups that just grow much easier.
Right.
So, if you get that critique, you back, you lighten the load and back out from it. And, Tyler Mannion actually once told me that my arms were a little too big from one show, and it's Tyler Mannion, so I took his word serious and I stopped training my arms altogether at one point. And so um but also taking things with a grain of salt, because you had mentioned, the whole chest thing. And that's actually true. One judge did say that my chest was too big, and I was like, is that even possible? And so I didn't really change much up after that. It ended up being fine. It was just that one show where my critique back was that my chest was too big, because you go to any show, like most people, the automated feedback you'll get, because it's almost true for everyone, because they can like, it's not that they lack in it, but you can always improve in it, which is like
Mm,
upper chest and lower lats. And
mm,
that was the consistent feedback a lot of men's physique guys would get. It's either lower lats, your lats, or your upper chest.
yeah.
So things like that. Yeah. But yeah, it's just hard work and consistency behind, as far as anything I can contribute my success to. Also, for me specifically, I've had the same coach for 10 years. And so, just finding the right coach that you can connect with and communicate with and just kind of even like get along with, and who has the best interest for you at the end of the day, as a person, it helps a lot too. So, it is, I've just been very fortunate with that part.
Yeah, and is that like not only obviously so they can learn your body and kind of, see what's worked in the past and then make sure things keep working in the future or changing things if necessary. But are you talking also from the mental aspect, like that confidence in having someone you trust that is, giving you the guidance or there even when it's like non-related bodybuilding things to keep stress low, to make sure you're, staying on track. Is more the mental or the physical or just or both?
Yeah, it's both. Like Ryan knows my body so well. Like at this point, I know what he wants to. So I'll just tell him like, "Hey, I'm doing this, this, and this," and he's like, "Sounds good." Or just
Yeah.
change this up with this. And like it's very easy as far as prep goes. But during the stressful times, of course, like peak week, I shut everything off as far as like, all right, I'm gonna try and see what I can do for my body. It's more so like, Ryan, what do you want me to do on peak week? He tells me exactly what to do, gives me all the protocols, and then just kind of having a coach who's present too, because Ryan does come out to a lot of my shows and the majority of my shows,
Mm.
whether I'm traveling on the East Coast or in the South or on the West Coast. So he comes out to the majority of my shows, so it's cool just having your coach there, instilling that confidence in you. And I will say Ryan is one of the very few people who says like, "Oh, you got this." Like, he's the guy that, instills that confidence in me before I step on stage. And so,
Mm.
of course, I already have a lot of confidence in myself, but, Ryan's just always kind of been there as a solid support. And so, that's cool to have. But yeah, no, a lot of it is the mental aspect, to just from the other side of, let's say I'm going through something in life. Ryan has been there for different breakups in my life. And so even understanding my body at that time. So
Mhm.
I remember, one time he was like, I was going through it. I was just mentally in my head over a breakup, and it was not the best prep. And I was like 6 weeks out, but he was just like, all of a sudden, you're your biggest critique whenever you look at the mirror. You can be
Yeah.
like, oh, you can look pretty like good, and you can be like, oh, I'm fat, like because we have body dysmorphia. So,
Yeah.
um, but Ryan was like, and that's my mindset. I'm like, oh, I look so terrible, and Ryan was like, hey man, just you look great. Like, go out. I want you tomorrow. Go out, get a burger and fries. Like, just eat that. And I think he did that from the aspect of, it wasn't even that my body necessarily needed it, but he was
Mm.
looking for something to relieve me, and kind of take that approach, and it did help. And just kind of knowing that he was, at least something was being done, and kind of feeling like trying to do that, and gain confidence from gain confidence from just the action of going out and getting burgers and fries, during that
Yeah.
time when things were hard mentally. It helped a lot. So like I said, Ryan's more like a brother now than just a coach. And so it's cool to have that piece in that aspect too.
Yeah. So in that case, like really helping the mindset because once the mindset, for example, in that specific example, like the burger and fries, like feeling mentally better, then like you maybe a bit more ease, and then the body's responding better, and that stress, maybe that holding a bit of water, like that kind of aspect, like it's helped when the mind's
Yeah.
in a better place.
Yeah, and plus in just terms of how you approach everything, like, I'm not saying that a burger and fries like fix me mentally,
Oh, no, sure.
but just the totality of everything and looking at it from a holistic approach. Also at the same time knowing I got a coach, knowing I have a friend that, that's there for me during the hard times, and while I'm going through this very difficult thing called the prep. It's really good to have.
Yeah, and then we've trained a couple of times, and one thing I noticed about your style of training is it's higher volume. It's quite a lot of sets, and you almost like pyramid up in weight. Is that a methodology that you've always
Yeah.
done, or is it something that yeah, okay, so you've always done that like from day one, and you've just kept doing it as the years have gone on.
Yeah, the reps do get mixed up, but for the most part, it's some sort of pyramid, and that's kind of the training style that my coach does for our team, and he's always
Mhm.
kind of trained his athletes that way. Certain workouts we might just do like 4 sets of like 10 or 4 sets of 12, whatever certain workouts we might do that, but we pyramided for the majority of everything, and it's gets you the hypertrophy. And from early on, it was just like why fix what's not broke? And I've been progressively getting better at what I'm doing, and so I've always kind of done that. And so I treat off seasons a little bit different sometimes now. At times I do in terms of my training, and so but for the most part, that's how I train. It's a lot of high volume, a lot of like yeah, and I remember you saying too, it's just like, "Oh, I've never felt this pump before in my chest."
Yeah,
And so,
yeah. Works
yeah,
great.
trying to get that hypertrophy and, really pushing, but, you're getting a lot of reps in, but also at the same time, you're pushing a decent amount of weight and whatever your body can, really handle, you're trying to push yourself to the limit too at the same time.
Yeah, it was definitely intense, and obviously it works, so if it's not broken, why fix it? Do you have any opinions on? Because I grew up in the UK, and a big popular training style, everyone's trying to do, like the Dorian Yates style, like very low volume, working up to like one or two top sets, going like all out. And like, as I've definitely experienced, a big mistake with that, like the booking method, is you can end up just chasing weight and you're moving it from A to B, but you're not feeling it on the intended muscle group as well as you could be if you were just dropping the weight a touch, doing higher volume, and just like really getting those full contractions. Like you're so focused on like, let me beat the way I did last week, and you're not actually feeling it in the muscle group anymore. Have you ever
Yeah.
experimented with that, or do you have an opinion, or you just never even tried because you're like, why would I change what's already working?
I've actually tried that Dorian Yates training style before,
Okay.
and I have so I my low back is already jacked up from years ago. I did that. I hurt my low back in high school my senior year, so I was doing deadlifts in front of like I was on the varsity team my senior year. I was doing deadlifts in front of the C team, so the freshman team,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure it was 3 plates on each side, and I was struggling to get it up, and I
Yeah.
heard a bop like a pop, and but I kept going, and so I did it, and I
Uh,
think I did like 3 or 4 reps, and I just like screwed my back up since then. And then, years later, I tried to do this Dorian Yates training style, and I felt like my back was so jacked. And again, this is more like, and this is around the time when I didn't think about, I wasn't as it's not that I didn't think about it, I just wasn't as intentional with the mind muscle connection
uh,
in my form and really contracting the muscle and getting the most I can out of it with, without having to try and pull a crud ton of weight and throwing my body around, really controlling it,
yeah.
doing that kind of stuff. And so when I did that, I remember I hurt my back and I was like, I probably shouldn't do this, and it just isn't for me. And it's not to say it can't work. So it's
Mm.
like, who knows, like Dorian Yates was probably actually hitting the muscle group that he was hitting when he was training. It doesn't mean that everyone's following it.
Yeah.
It's probably user error, and a lot of people aren't following exactly to a T how he was training.
Yeah.
Probably like the methodology and the style of it, but Dorian Yates was probably hitting his chest when he was trying to hit his chest, and probably was trying to hit his quads when he was trying to hit his quads, instead of utilizing a lot of these other muscle groups. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it's really your approach to it. I say, it's it's still too early for me to just make a judgment on some of these scientific lifters out there. Sometimes
Yeah.
when you see it, you think it's a little ridiculous. I'm just gonna hold judgment altogether and won't say
Yeah.
anything. But for the most part, do what you will. Like honestly, some training styles are better for other people and how their body reacts. And it's just as long as it's working, you're seeing the results that you want to see. Like, just don't jump from style to style every 2 weeks, but really commit yourself to it. If you're seeing the progress that you want to see, and if you really think it's making a difference, great. If it's not, maybe you just need to try something else.
Yeah. Yeah. You found what's worked for you, and the Dorian Yates style. Just obviously, if you get injured, you can't. You can't be progressing if you're injured. So it's pretty
Yeah.
simple. On a side note, I don't want to throw, I can't judge it overly, but I see some of these guys in Alpha Land training the most ridiculous exercise I've ever seen in my
Yeah.
life. But
I
if
think.
it works, it works for them, bro. But I
I
can't.
mean,
It
I
just
don't know if it's working. It's like you got a connector to a connector to a
nah,
cable.
yeah,
That's another connector, and I'm
and
just like,
zero muscle.
But
Yeah,
the thing is, it's just okay. I get what you're kind of saying. You're saying this contracts this more, but is that the easiest route to go about it? To hit that? Like,
I
was
wouldn't
that
do
the
it.
most simple thing you can do in the gym to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish? And so I don't think so. There's other ways to do it, but it's
I mean,
just again, I don't
yeah,
know enough about their reasoning behind it. I only see it with my eyes, so and it looks strange to me. And so it is what it is. It's
yeah,
cool. Like
yeah,
if that gets you in the gym, gets you, like fit and active, that's great. Just don't act all high and mighty.
yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. So, before we finish up, I wanted to touch on the career side of things because, for me, as you know, going into sales, I feel like as someone who has done bodybuilding at the highest level and progressed in their sales career, you know, there's definitely some awesome value there. So what would you say is some of the biggest like lessons? Like, when you just said you started before chiropractic school, you went there and then you started sales again. And you said, oh, the reason it was so difficult is because again, you probably didn't know what you didn't know. You didn't have the best trainers. You were there just like doing maybe cold calling, trying to like land results. But if you don't have the skills, the results are kind of hard to get. So now, like way further down the road, what would you say to someone starting in sales and bodybuilding at the same time to make it everything work, and to progress in the sales career, obviously financially to support the bodybuilding and, make sure both are synergizing together.
Yeah, I guess, at the end of the day, have your North Star. That's one thing that is a big focus. So you want to know why you're doing what you're doing. And you have to have a deeper purpose than I just, it's kind of fun. So I'm kind of doing it, rather than that, what's your North Star? Like, I want to accomplish this goal and I want to accomplish this goal. And this means a lot to me, whether it's like, it can be as something as broad as like, I want to be able to, once I want to start a family and be able to support them. So you want to
Mm,
get, what does that entail? That entails you getting really good at your craft at work. So you have to really put a lot of focus into what you're doing at work to improve those skills and get better every single day and apply those skills. So a lot of people will learn, but they won't apply. And so you have to apply those skills, give yourself that grace to mess up and eventually to build yourself to where you want to go. And so that's a big part of it. And yeah, I mean, yeah, it's really just having that North Star, having a purpose, and then finding out a way, a plan, blueprint to reach those goals and to be able to do those things.
Before we go into more of the sales then, like do you have a clear North Star or purpose or, why that really helped you, manage both
Yeah.
at the same time?
Like, eventually, I do wanna get married eventually, and so I wanna be able to make our lives
All right.
comfortable. And I want to, as far as, like, smaller milestones and things like that goes, like, for career, I wanna get a promotion, by the year end, hopefully by mid-year, mid-calendar year, I wanna get a promotion. I wanna make a lot of money. In sales, you kind of have that motive and you have that drive when you do come in. You want to make a lot of money. I want to help the people around me. And I really believe, like, and again, like I said, I want to get that promotion. But to get that promotion, I know that also engaging and growing the team around me will create an atmosphere that will help me work better. And at the same time, too, just like, having people win around me will improve me at the end of the day. So that's kind of how I see it. So contributing to that, uh making sure I'm hitting all my KPIs, doing the right things, and just doing all that. But at the end of the day, like, my mindset is like, all right, I want to make my future family comfortable, and I just want to get really, in between there, getting my SDM promotion, getting for as far as the bodybuilding side of things and how that could apply is just in my mind. And again, I know I said like your goal should be to get first place, but in my mind this year I'm telling myself top 5 at Mr. Olympia.
Same.
And if I do have the opportunity to go back, which I'm pretty confident in this season, but get top 5 at the Mr. Olympia, I'm going to be working really hard towards that. And then with getting top 5, more opportunities do come in the sport of bodybuilding in forms of sponsorships and things of that nature. And so just really doing that. But also at the same time too, with bodybuilding, that's not really my North Star. So it's just a part of it's the tool to help me get my future family comfortable, right? And
Yeah.
so um yeah, everything just kinda synergizes with each other and works in a flow. So
Yeah.
I just went a very long and roundabout way of answering that. So
No, I think that's
yeah,
really helpful and interesting because it sounds like the North Star really is the family and setting your kids up and, an environment for your future wife to have a great life together.
yeah,
Um, and what's also super interesting is so yeah, and obviously part of that is the financial aspect, which from your job, getting a promotion is obviously going to help that, and obviously that's also helping the bodybuilding, and like the going top five in the Olympia does you know, allow you to have way more opportunities, which also just again helps financially or just notoriety wise or different opportunities that are going to help, with the family. But what's super interesting with that is so the Olympia in itself isn't a North Star because I feel like for a lot of people, um, like some people at least, their North Star is, for example, the Olympia. And like everything around that is like geared towards like trying to get there in a sense. But like
y
just to be clear, so like let's say you had a genetic um disposition like you do for bodybuilding, but for something else. So let's say it was tennis, you know what I mean, or golf, or like I don't know, lacrosse. Like I don't know if you can make a living off that. To be fair, but like like other sports out there. Um, you're basically saying like obviously the family is the end goal, so it doesn't really matter the vehicle. Like it happens to be bodybuilding, but it's not like in every lifetime like it would be body. But if you had like another, does that make
I
sense?
get what you're saying. So the whole family thing too, it's just something that I thought of off the top of my head, but it's always been something. Of course, like I want to be, financially stable for my future. So if I happen to have a family and everything, things will be more comfortable. But
Yeah,
uh I see what you're saying with the bodybuilding thing. So it's also at the same time too, I still have a passion for bodybuilding. So it's
mm,
not like if I was just good at tennis, I would be opportunistic. I mean, who knows? Like honestly, I don't know if I get a like a deal that some tennis stars get, I'd be like, maybe I'll consider that. But I really enjoy bodybuilding and I have a passion for it. And one thing I always say is if you're not having fun, why do it?
yeah,
And I'm gonna be doing this as long as I'm having fun with it. So I'm having fun with it. And so I definitely enjoy what I do. I love, everything that kind of comes with bodybuilding, and that's what started it off, right? The structure, the discipline, the kind of control and that you get over your life and the confidence that it builds and having that camaraderie, the people that you get to meet. I owe so much to bodybuilding because it's taken me around the world. I've been to places like China, Korea. I've been to just all over the US as far as competing goes. It's taken me to places that I never probably would have gone on my own, at least
yeah,
certain states. And so, it's been a great opportunity. And so it's been a great ride and I'm enjoying the ride and that's why I'm doing it. And so everything just happened to work out in the way, in the way of bodybuilding. And so or
yeah.
in the way with bodybuilding. And so um I don't know necessarily, if there was a hypothetical situation where if I was really good at, um, I'm trying to think of something that I don't like to do much. Uh,
Oh, you're a six
but
foot five Duncan, you know what I mean? Or, I don't know, and
but
American football.
Yeah, I think I would. I mean, if I was, if I had the genetic disposition, I would definitely try and pursue those things too, because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, too, what bodybuilders are, they're competitors. And
Mm,
so they find the competitive nature in a lot of things that they do. So I just think that, if they have the genetic disposition, I mean, that's why you see a lot of former bodybuilders doing things like high rocks now. I see a lot of
yeah,
people I competed with back in the day, they're all doing high rocks now. Why? Like, because they're competitive. If
yeah,
they're not
yeah.
doing bodybuilding, they're going to do something else that kind of get their juices flowing. And so it makes sense.
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing about this is I'm just trying to like maybe make the distinction that maybe it's the case that because you're so competitive, like, and you got the confidence from the winning, right? Like, it feels good to be winning. It feels good to be competent as a man, especially at your craft. Like, that's so. If you're competent at something else and you like were one of the best, in the world, maybe you would like that more because there's like an external. That's like the external aspect, but the internal is like for some people from a young age, they'll be like physique's the coolest thing. I don't like anything else. Like some people like cars like this, some people like basketball, but some people like like having a Mr. Olympia physique is like the coolest thing. And so some people like they would do it even if they have like terrible genetics. They would never
Yeah.
be on the stage and they'll still just do it because they love it. But like
Yeah.
maybe if you didn't have the genetics, like you're not going to be pouring this much into bodybuilding because, like, it's not fun. You know what I'm saying? It's not fun then. That's not like
Yeah.
like one's better than the other. I'm just kind of
Yeah.
curious, like, the way your mind works, you know?
Yeah. No, I mean, honestly, I guess I wasn't given the opportunity with bodybuilding, so I can't straight up say, like, all right, if I was bad at bodybuilding or if I didn't
Yeah.
find as much success early on, would I still be doing it? I
Yeah.
honestly could not tell you because, again, I've taken everything in stride, so it's not like I've had this big disappointment in the sport, trying to, and I'm very self-aware and realistic about, when I step on the Olympia stage, how do I look this year compared to a lot of the other guys? So I'm pretty self-aware. So I try not to get like upset or anything like that by certain results, especially at the Olympia. But yeah, I honestly don't know with that hypothetical situation, just because I
Yeah.
have been fortunate to do well from the beginning. But I can definitely tell you, like, the winning was cool, but
Yeah.
the thing that probably kept me going in the sport, because I didn't even know exactly what my next steps were until I joined the new team, but I already
Yeah.
knew I wanted to continue like with the sport and yeah, just get better at it. Again, the winning did help, but I love the structure, the discipline, and I like the results that I got from it.
Yeah.
So and I'm not talking about the prize, but I'm talking about just like what my body looked like and how much like like I built this. I worked
Yeah.
really hard and I built this. And so I love that aspect of it too. So that's part of what kept me going. So I probably would have kept competing. I don't know for how long, but
Yeah.
I would have kept competing after that. That's for sure.
Yeah, so the joy from just the progression, like even just, if you not the accolades, like you just love the progression. Maybe
Yeah.
one more hypothetical, just because I think it's interesting. If
Yeah.
you if you were the last person on Earth, right? You're the last person. Say like you could just live, everything was there, but you were the only one on Earth. Would you still go to the gym and train, or would you be like, "There's no one on Earth. Like, what's the point? I don't care." You know what I mean?
Like with my current mindset,
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Well,
like
I guess
with
right now you definitely would, but well, I guess yeah. Right now
I
you would.
mean, yeah, I definitely would if I was the last person on earth. Like if you asked me like 12 years ago, I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
But
yeah,
if you ask me now, like, heck yeah, because it's like, what else am I gonna do if I'm by myself? I might as well work out a little bit,
yeah,
pass
yeah,
the
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I'll be focused on a lot more important stuff as far as like survival and things like that
Yeah.
goes. But
Yeah.
if I had the opportunity, it's like I have the time, why not? Just work out.
Yeah.
So
But being
yeah.
like elite Mr. Olympia like condition versus like, you just be going to the gym, obviously like loving the routine, the mental aspects, but there's no need to be getting, Olympia lean if there's no one else to compete with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I wouldn't be like getting shredded
Yeah.
and trying to put myself through a prep, but I'd work out and, eat normal foods if I have the opportunity being the last person on earth and
Yeah.
just work out. And man, that would suck being the last person on earth.
Yeah. Let's not think they're
Yeah,
too dark, you know what I mean? But
yeah,
okay, so just like last point on the sales, you know what I mean?
yeah.
What is, I guess, so in the same way, with bodybuilding, you got into it, you kind of you don't know your genetic potential. You don't know necessarily what's good and what's bad. Like maybe for example, a lot of Asians, myself, like my legs are probably the thing that grows the best. My back probably grows the worst. And this is
Yeah.
I, I didn't know that at the beginning, but I learned that as time goes on.
Yeah.
With sales, there's like cold calling, there's inbound, there's outbound. There's all these different. There's managing. You know what I mean? Like, what have you found? Like, how was that journey for you? Like, in like a short overview, like, what did you find? Okay, this is like for me, or does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, eventually you get to a point like you have to be able to not take anything personally, and you start learning that fast in sales, especially when you first start. If people are cold with you or upset at you or say something mean to you,
Mm.
definitely don't take that personally. You can't do what you do in sales if you do that. Um, and again, it's just taking the things that you learn and actually applying them. That's why I put an emphasis on that and getting really good at your craft and doing what you're doing because you can't just walk in and be expect to be good at cold calling. You can't walk in, expect to be good at selling a certain product that you're trying to sell. There's a process behind that. And so you have to take that process, whether it's like, okay, on Friday, I'm going to get my calendar organized and this is what I'm going to plan out to do for the rest of the week so I can be successful. I'm going to time block these area for this time's for productivity, this time's for more, I mean, this time's for like cold calling, this time's for more administrative duties, this time's for meetings, and getting your process set up in a way that really develops you and helps you get good at what you're, what you're doing in your role. That's probably the best thing that I've learned. And early on, like when I used to work at Pepperidge Farm, that always kind of, or no, at Armstrong, that kind of stuck in my head was plan your work and work your plan. That's what my manager used to tell me all the time.
Yeah.
And he was this French dude, but he told me plan your work and work your plan. And
No.
so, it's if anything, you're able to stay mentally organized. You can really prioritize the things that you need to take care of and not get lost in the shuffle, because even in sales, man, you'll come to learn there's there's paralysis and analysis. So
Mm.
you want to avoid that as much as possible too. And we do that a lot in bodybuilding too. Sometimes we're so like fixated on something, we try like a million things to fix it. And I mean, we research on things, and it's just like, all right, when are we ever going to take the step to um try to execute what we're trying to execute, So, yeah, it's more so about just getting that process to get good at your craft is probably the most important thing that I learned, and understanding that, and not just saying like, okay, I'm going to get good at what I'm doing, but really coming up with a process to improve what you do.
Yeah, just like the gym, like just how you have the cardio, the macros, the training, like you plan that out and then you execute and guess what? Like you get the best results. So like kind of just applying that same thing to sales.
Yeah, no, it's funny because even my managers now, during my last performance review, they all know I'm like the competitor. I'm the gym guy at the office, and so they they were taking, my like my what am I blanking on? My review, but my analysis of it, they were
Mm.
breaking it down in terms of like, okay, this is your nutrition calendar, this is your nutrition chart, these
Yeah.
are macros here that you need to hit. And so, they kind of did that analogy when it comes to nutrition and, training with my professional work. And so it was just kind of funny. But yeah, no, it's exactly like that.
Do you think sales and bodybuilding really do complement each other for a certain kind of individual? Like, it sounds like you're someone who's very competitive, and like sales, is a profession in which that competitiveness really can be channeled because it's done by usually hitting quotas or like it's what you produce. Like I think you mentioned you were like in a hunting role, right? So like out and you kill like something like a game. You know what I mean? Like you go out and if you're very competitive, you're going to keep going. It's not something where you just have like a salary job and you just have to show up and you get paid by just showing up. Like in sales, you need to like produce things, right? So do you find
Yeah.
like and a personality type, you being a very competitive individual, like it actually like it really is great for sales and the sales and bodybuilding you found like complement each other? Or like, I don't know, a misconception, not misconception, maybe like a preconception that I had with sales is, oh man, you're just going to be so stressed the whole day. It's going to ruin bodybuilding because you're so drained from being on the phone and you're like talking. But that's probably not the case. Like this is just something I thought like a while ago before I knew anything about sales. But
hmm
maybe like the really competitive personality type, have you found that actually like they complement each other and like they actually like feed off one another or, maybe not?
Yeah, no, I don't know about it feeding off of one or off of each other, but at least the mindset and the mentality that you can have behind bodybuilding can be exactly the same as sales. Anything that has a competitive nature to it, you're trying to hit a quota, you're trying to go to President's Club, you're trying to be the number one, district manager in your office. You're trying to be, there's so many different things, that you kind of want. And it's just, personal goals for yourself and things that you're trying to achieve. And so that competitive nature does kick in. And then, at the end of the day, it's just, it depends on what kind of person you are too. So, whether you have a sales role and you're doing bodybuilding, but just, if you have the mindset of I'm the type of person who wants to try and put their best foot forward in everything that I do, that can be the driver. It doesn't have to be competitive, but someone who's just like, if I put my mind to it, I'm gonna, try and like just do my best at it. And there, some people who are just naturally good at both, maybe, and they're just
Yeah, yeah.
like, oh, this is easy. I don't, I don't need a, I kind of need a motivating drive, but I'm just really good at these. But everyone's different. But yeah, no, being competitive in bodybuilding probably will give you that same competitive juice. You just have to have the same mind. You have to have the right mindset going into it. And again, having that North Star of like, all right, my North Star is I want to make, I want to make 300K in my role this year. I want to make 200K in my role this year. You can have that as your North Star, and then, just doing the process and doing the work behind it to get there. It again, you just have to have the right mindset approaching it, and both the same competitive drive from bodybuilding to sales will kind of all play off each other and work.
Yeah. Okay, last question of
Yeah.
today. Um, Out of all the things that drive you, sometimes it's not as clear as one thing. But just to give a couple examples, like some people, they're mostly driven, well, the highest thing that drives them is financial. For some people, it's like, mastery. They want to be the master at a craft. That really motivates them. Like, if I could be a master, if I could be the most competent, this gives me like, the most motivation. Some people, it's like, I just don't want to lose. Like, it's a fear of failure. They don't want to be looking dumb in front of other people. They want to feel, for some people, it's contribution. They want to feel like they're contributing to a certain environment. What do you think motivates you the most? Maybe, over time you've learned this about yourself and maybe it's changed. But what do you think motivates you, number one? And maybe it's different for bodybuilding and sales. I don't know. Maybe it's the same for both.
Yeah, for me, it's like a combination of different things. Like for me, it's myself where I'm just like, so like in sales, it's a combination of I want to make money. Like specifically just thinking short term in my role, like I want to make money. And I'm also that person who's like, but I'm in a team at the same time. Like, although it's kind of like an individual role, I still
Yeah.
have a team like that I'm a part of, and I want to contribute to the team and make sure our numbers look good. And I want to, I don't want to be the one failing be like just someone who's dragging the team or failing. So I
Yeah.
want to make sure I'm contributing and helping. And so that's a part of it for my professional role. But then even on the professional side of bodybuilding, um, just uh, for the longest time, because remember I was talking about how I found my community. I found like a good group of people, and like as I developed in the sport, I met more people who became close to me. And so a lot of it too was about representing for those people. They supported me along this process when I felt like I didn't know where I was going, but
Yeah.
I owe it to them to put my best foot forward. And then of
Yeah.
course for myself, it's like, oh hey, like there's more that I can achieve through this sport and progress myself, and also at the same time, um, this is something I enjoy doing, and I definitely don't want to go out there and look ridiculous. Like I've built it up to a point to where, I'm an 8-time Olympian. I've won multiple shows. It's like I'm not going out to a show and just thinking like, oh, if I get second place, I'll be happy. If I go out to a show, I'm like, I'm coming for first place because, this is where I can, in my head, I tell myself, this is where I can be if I can take that first place spot if I put in the work and really, put my best foot forward. And so that's a part of it too. So it's a combination of multiple things, but, yeah, it's a diverse range of things. I couldn't
Yeah.
really pinpoint one thing, but a
Yeah.
lot of it is just kind of understanding where I should be and really taking it seriously, and then, trying to represent for the people around me. And, especially earlier on in my career too, as far as like bodybuilding goes, there weren't a lot of Koreans out there. There weren't a lot of East Asians out there.
Yeah.
So I was one of the very few in the very beginning, and I might have been the first as far as like a Korean person goes,
Yeah.
Korean American at least, goes being there on stage. And then the one of the very first ones that looks East Asian, we had
Yeah.
Jeremy Buendia. He was half Filipino, but
Mhm.
or is Jeremy full Filipino? He's half Filipino, right? Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I know. Yeah. I think he's
Yeah.
Filipino.
Yeah, but I think he's half Filipino. But just having an East Asian face, especially during that time, just I want to represent and get more people involved in the sport if I could. And so that was a mindset that I used to have back then. And if I can inspire other people who kind of look like me that thought they couldn't do the sport and they want to jump in it now, like that's freaking amazing. And I'd be happy. I'm glad I was able to do that. And if I could do that, that would be great. So
Yeah. Sounds like
Yeah.
there's many aspects just from that Korean part. Obviously I am half Korean. For anyone that doesn't know that out there, but I love seeing the Korean progression. There's some classic guys right now. Some open guys, but they're still struggling, I think, with their backs to make it with these like freaks. But the Korean bodybuilding is progressing, and it's what are the chances that happen to be in the same gym as the best men's physique Korean guy out there. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, Joe, really appreciate you having you on the podcast. For anyone trying to get in contact with you, anyone you want to thank, like your sponsor, etc., like, where can they find you?
Yeah, shout out to Dark Sport. I've been with them for since 2016 now, so almost like so basically 10 years. And so it's pretty cool. And then if you want to find me on Joe Manji on Instagram, and then I'm gonna start dropping new YouTube videos soon. And my very, very late 2025 Mr. Olympia video is gonna drop soon. It's just my cameraman, you know him, Avery. He ended up having his car got broken into, so he lost all his work when he was almost done with my video. And then luckily, we're just cleaning it up now, and I should have a YouTube video out soon. So catch me on YouTube for, I believe it's Joe Manji Fit, and that's about it.
Awesome. Well, Joe, it's been a pleasure having you on.
Yeah, appreciate it, Gun.